This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, and we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 12th of February 2020, and I am DM.
I'm Tuam.
And I am JM. In case you missed the headlines, here they are.
Yeah.
In the Star, Kwaheri Mzee Moi.
Yes.
In the Daily Nation, moving tribute. And in the Standard, Kwaheri Mzee.
Wow.
So the context here is yesterday's memorial service at Nyayo Stadium, where Moi was given an honorable state funeral, where glowing tributes were given by current and former heads of states of the region.
Yeah.
Now today as well was his final send-off at Kabarak, and everyone who spoke both yesterday and today spoke of how Moi touched their lives in a very personal way.
Yes.
But before we speak a little bit about yesterday, this morning, unfortunately, the Secretary General of Jubilee Party was involved in a car accident on his way to Kabarak for the funeral. We wish him a quick recovery. And we thank God that, at least as far as we're concerned, there were no fatalities.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, yesterday.
State funeral.
Yes.
Grand. I mean, grand. What a display of military might.
Yes. Precision.
Of precision, of order.
Yeah.
I mean, and method, it was stately, it was grand. It was. And I think when it comes to things like state funerals, it's not about the person who's died anymore. It's also about the country.
Yes.
Because countries are also a very powerful element of personal identity.
Right.
So when you see something executed this well, it's triumphant. Whether you like Moi or not,
yes.
It's a good thing. I mean, if a president or a former president is given a peasant's burial, it's it's deflating.
Deflating.
It's deflating on the country level.
Absolutely, and totally, underwhelming and even a little bit shameful.
Yes.
And not just for that family, but also for us ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's also an identity thing.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So congratulations to General Mwathethe. I mean, that was beautiful. I'm sure the presidents who were in attendance, Kagame and Museveni, they went back home, and the first person they asked to meet is their CDF. and told them, just hypothetically, if we are to have a state funeral for somebody, how will it?
If you happen to be Ugandan or Rwandese, you'll probably be charged with treason right now because you've
thinking bad thoughts. Yeah.
But anyway, I think my take of it was befitting send-off to probably, in my view, the biggest political figure Kenya has had since independence. I mean, in terms of political strategy and all that, Moi was second to nobody, and absolutely. I think he deserved that that show. He deserved that respect and honor.
And so what we'll do today is just narrate a few stories from Moi's past.
Yes.
Before we do that, can I point something out on the cover of the Star?
Yeah.
In his footsteps, why Gideon Moi will succeed his father.
Yes.
The Star has done a whole story on this.
Yes.
And they have drawn biblical inspiration. They are telling us that King David himself, who succeeded Saul, was not the firstborn of his father. He was actually the 10th out of 9 children.
Right.
Absolutely.
And when the Lord sent his man Samuel to Jesse's house, that's David's father, he asked to see all the sons.
Yes.
And the 9 sons were brought forward, and he said, "Don't you have another son?" And they said, he's just small. He's out he's a little boy. He's out in the field. And Samuel said, "I will not sit until he comes."
Yes.
And I will read what the Bible says. When he was brought in, he was glowing with health, like Gideon Moi, and has a fine appearance and handsome features. Then the Lord said, "Rise and anoint him." And the Star is also telling us it's not just the Bible that sets this precedent. Oginga Odinga chose personally Raila Odinga over his elder brother Oburu.
Yes.
And also Moi, Gideon Moi was known to be his father's golden child.
And we have seen it today, actually.
Yeah, we've seen it.
Raymond Moi, standing today at the funeral, says,
I'm the eldest, but...
Yes, I have given the political mantle of this family and its successor and its succession to Gideon Moi. And he was given the rungu.
He was given the rungu, and he was overwhelmed. He didn't expect it. I felt that Gideon Moi, the political thing that he should have done was to milk that moment.
No, Gideon Moi expected it. The way he stood before Raymond finished his name.
Then if he expected it, he should have gone about it differently. He should have made a spectacle out of the whole thing. He should have got those traditional people to do their fly whisks on him,
absolutely,
to kneel, to be anointed, so that they give us this powerful imagery of he has taken over.
No, he had to finish the show by being graceful. See, he held it
and
like
humble
this,
and saying, I don't even know what to do.
But you wait, the next BBI rally, show up, rally and do.
There's no other platformers, because remember last week we said that tomorrow's funeral will be Gideon's coronation?
Yes.
Wasted. But the speech was fabulous.
But let me tell
you, was,
you guys, the speeches by Gideon yesterday and today were very good. And the thing they had about them was charm. And he got a DP, a little bit of dig. He took a dig at DP. And he said, I've spent the last 4 months, I've spent so much time in the hospital. Now I can be a doctor now.
A doctor.
So for the president, I can give you 5 milligrams of something. You DP, you have maombi.
Great sense of humor. I think he's charming also fantastic. Because he's not shy about his poshness. He embraces who he is. And
totally.
Maybe DP should loosen up a bit and also crack some jokes, even during funerals, But today Gideon stole the show, and yesterday as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a great speech.
Now that we've given an analysis of what happened today, why don't we push the stories for tomorrow? Because tomorrow we'll also have headlines about Moi's final send-off.
Yes,
we can give some very interesting stories about humorous ones about his past.
Oh yes,
but in terms of the renditions that the papers did, I think the Star did a particularly good rendition.
Oh yes.
For once.
Yes.
Really, really nice, beautiful picture here we have on the front with Quaharium's and just perfect. And I think we're not going to toss any, but I think we should award it.
Yes. The winning headline. Absolutely.
And so on to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country.
Right.
We have a 3-part criteria that we use to assess the cartoons. Is a cartoon humorous or dry, satirical or pessimistic, and finally effective or just plain lazy? What have we got in the Daily Nation?
In the Daily Nation we have in the clouds the late President Moi sitting on his chair. There's Oginga Odinga next to him and Jomo Kenyatta.
Yes.
And they're all looking down into the world at their sons Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. But Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga are in a very celebratory mood. They're singing Nobody Can Stop Reggae. And on the side, looking unhappy as usual, is William Ruto. And President Moi, who is presumably newly arrived in heaven, is telling his counterparts, I left them doing just fine.
Yes, it's a beautiful photo.
It's beautiful. It's hilarious. But once again, like I said last week, Moi is not in heaven. Oginga Odinga is not in heaven. Jomo Kenyatta is not in heaven. They are resting in the soil until the day of resurrection. That is what the Bible tells us. If we're being biblical, and I think we are because we are referring to heaven.
But we have done books here in the past, DM, that say that we could have different accounts of the Bible and incorrect accounts of of Scripture.
In fact, those very books tell us why there were fabrications of different accounts. For instance, heaven was going to heaven and purgatory was a Catholic Church fabrication for money. Because you would pay for priests to pray for your beloved ones to enter into heaven's gates.
I'd really like to ask the Torah what the Torah would say about that.
Interesting. Next time our discussion will be theological. In the Star, we have the grave of Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, 1924 to 2020. And it is massive. The headstone is massive, and the grave itself, compared to that of his wife, Lena, which only says Lena and is a very small gravestone. And the caption there is, "Till life do us part." Wow, I saw this cartoon and I said, wow. First of all, it's very personal and perhaps unfair.
I think it's a bit distasteful.
Yes, it is distasteful. Of course, Moi did get a state funeral and Lena didn't, because Moi was a former president. The Constitution says that presidents presidents-elect, and people that the president recommends to have state funerals will have state funerals. I mean, Moi would not recommend that his wife have a state funeral.
I don't think even Ozone should be doing this on this day. These are family matters, and they should be left as is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Tossed immediately.
Right. Yeah.
And in the Standard, we have
Gado
is bringing us back to reality.
Yes.
From the Moi conversation, and there's an empty desk there, which belongs to the Auditor General.
Yes.
And it has been empty so long that it has developed cobwebs around it.
Yeah, so the thing about this is there's a court ruling actually stopping the choosing of a panel that will actually appoint the Auditor General. In my view, this is a bit dangerous because, as we all know, 4 counties to get budget allocations every single year, it depends on audited revenues. Right now, if they have not been audited, if the Auditor General has not appended the signature on the revenues that we have from Exchequer, then it means we might get delays in public finance. But maybe we also need some advice from public finance
and also
management.
And also in this period where the desk is empty, there will be rampant plundering.
Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows? Absolutely.
Taking advantage of that.
Happening. So then, I gather that we have a winning headline from the Star and a winning cartoon from the Daily Nation.
Yes.
And so, what is our final thought?
Before you declare what the final thought is, I have a confession to make. I did not read the book, so I will call my friend Tujay to sit for me.
Oh, wow.
All right.
You've abandoned ship.
Sure.
Okay. And now our final thought. It is inspired by a book entitled The Breakout Nations, In Pursuit of the Next Economic Miracles by Ruchir Sharma.
Written in 2012.
Yes.
So in 2001, a man called Jim O'Neill, who worked for Goldman Sachs, which is a big bank in the United States, coined the term BRIC, B-R-I-C, an acronym that represented the emerging markets of Brazil, Russia, India, and China.
Yes.
And so the term symbolized the shifting of economic power away from developed nations towards new markets which had greater and more potential.
Right.
And for some time, this really seemed to be true.
Yeah.
However, in this book, Ruchir Sharma turns this concept on his head with 2 decades of lessons that he learned as the head of emerging markets at Morgan Stanley.
Correct.
So important to note is that this book was written in 2012. And so a lot of the context and the insights that were used in this book might be a little bit irrelevant now. But I will say it is very insightful as a lesson into what has taken place in the global economy in the past 2 decades. So after a decade of rapid growth, the world's most celebrated emerging economies are set to slow down. And so Sharma asked this question, which countries will rise to challenge them and how can we spot them before they have this huge boost? So the central view in this book is that rapid growth of the late 90s into I'd say the whole 2000s is over. And that era of making easy money and easy growth is coming to an end. And I think China, case in point, is a very good example. They've had a lot of rising growth, rising money, but a lot of people say that might be coming to an end. And so in identifying who those new emerging nations will be, Sharma says that we need to give up this habit of extrapolating what growth will look like based on global trends. And he says that instead we should focus on looking at nations as individuals. So instead of saying what do global trends mean for entire regions, what do these trends mean for certain countries? Specific countries, yes. And so whether it is positive or negative, this book reads a bit like notes, and I think that's a lot of what the reviews would say about this book. That just reads on notes on different countries that he points to. On these 12 countries actually he looks at. And he says that these are the real breakout nations to watch. So in the spirit of assessing each nation individually, each chapter explores the different and unique factors that have led to growth and that will continue to sustain growth in what he calls these breakout nations. And so from my reading, one key observation that I took and that I do quite believe in is the relationship between good economics and good politics. Not that one will always impact the other or vice versa, but that it's important that we focus on both. What does good economics mean for a country? What does good politics mean? And so Sharma argues that soon enough, investors will stop relying on numbers, on metrics as factors of determining what is going to help a country grow. But instead, investors are going to look at the country itself, going back to this individuality. You know, you want to be trading or investing in a country that you know they have good, a good track record. Are they trustworthy? Are they hardworking?
Right.
And in the book, he gives the example of Poland. He says in Poland, investors were very shy to pump money into the country because of the architecture. He said the country looked ugly, the streets were narrow, the people looked sad. But he says that when you open, you know, the doors behind these ugly buildings, you find that a lot of the Soviet-style things that have remained in the country. So they're very hardworking. The ethos is still there. They're very hardworking. They're very focused on getting the job done.
Correct.
And so he says that that is one factor that we should look at in deciding what a breakout nation will be.
I like that. I like that. I like that. It's a very different way of
it is a different way
of seeing economics. My takeaway from this, guys, is what he calls Mexico's tycoon economy. And he says that Mexico had one of the world's best performing stock markets. But one of the most sluggish performing economies, and yes, they were not, they could not compare. And the stock exchange had gained over a period of 10 years over 200%. Right, performing better than any other stock exchange globally. But also in the same span of about 10 years, from the year 2000 to 2012, they had an average of about 3% growth. Right now, he was asking, why is this the case? So he went back and did his research, and he said that the economy is controlled by a small clique of people. That about a third of the stock market wealth is controlled by a small clique of people. The same clique of people produce about 40% of all goods consumed by Mexicans. And then they are shameless enough to charge prices 30% higher than the global average.
Oh my gosh.
So if you go to Mexico, a phone, sukari, milk, you know, this during that period
is made by a small group of people and then charged 30% higher, right? So actually they were more expensive than in the States. And he says the reason is this: they had come to embrace this clique of people who would produce goods for themselves and take away all the profits. And he says, for as long as you don't incentivize the market to compete, then the market will be sluggish. And therefore, now if I'm going to buy goods at 30% higher than anybody else, and I have nowhere else to go, the only person who's going to benefit is the person up there. And he said the reason the elite got undue advantage is because in the 80s, Mexico had a debt crisis. Now, when they had a debt crisis, government actually forced itself to privatize. Now, the only guys who had the money to buy off government assets were the wealthy.
Absolutely.
And they bought them for a song. All right. Now you get undue advantage. The same thing happened in Russia. All right. Now you get guys grabbing off these government properties for a song, and then they come together and own the factors of production. What the heck do you expect? You expect people to suffer and only the rich to benefit.
Oligopoly.
It's an oligopoly of sorts.
Absolutely. Now the other thing he talks about in this book, in 2012, he did a prognosis of where the world was headed in terms of its global performance of economies. And so he coined this term known as a third coming. And he says the third coming is a new era that will be defined by moderate growth, the return of the boom-bust business cycle, and the breakup of herd behavior. Lacking the easy money and the blue sky optimism that had fueled investment, the stock markets of developing countries are set to deliver more measured and uneven returns. And I think by and large, that is true. We had a significant boom in the early 2000s. Culminating in the 2008 financial crisis. We also had a bit of a boom, he says, in the first coming, which was now in the 1980s to the end of towards the 2000s. But you know, we've seen a general decline in growth. But here's what he says, that the third coming will be about understanding emerging markets as individual nations. So not homogeneously, as you guys have said as well. And I'm reminded, even at a personal level, of something that a video that I saw a few months ago of a journalist who was interviewing President Kagame while he was on a state visit to Namibia. And the journalist had very scathing attack, put forth scathing, comments and questions towards President Kagame, and was accusing him of all sorts of things, saying, Rwanda has a poor track record in terms of development, in terms of political space and democratization. and yet you want to seek another term in office after your term comes to an end. You know, you've got to be ridiculous. He was totally uncourteous towards the president of Kagame. And in fact, the Namibian president had even interjected and wanted him to, you know, get kicked out of the room. But Kagame said, you know what, let him just finish his question. I will respond. And then Kagame asked him, sir, have you ever visited Rwanda? And he said, he was caught a bit aback. He was like, actually, no, I haven't visited. I've only read about it. And Kagame said, so this is what, this is why you're giving me all this ignorance.
That's precisely,
you know, this is why you don't know what the actual state of affairs is in the country. And so he said, you come to Rwanda and see for yourself how we live, what the people think, where they think the country is going, whether they approve of me as president or not. And that's when I realized that, you know, to depend entirely on the statistics, on the numbers,
and narratives,
on the narratives that you find on social media and all sorts of other outlets out there. If that's only a one-dimension view.
Absolutely.
And so you've actually got to go to the country. You see what the place is like, and you form an opinion of your own. And that's what he's saying also
in this book.
In this book, that a lot of times the people with money who are in the global north, people sitting in London, in New York, who are controlling world markets, usually they never or they rarely get a chance to come to the emerging markets. But when they do come, they assess the country for itself as an individual. They put the numbers aside, that and all the, you know, macro figures, and they look at the actual potential. They look at the human capital. They look at the natural resources. As for example, right now, the DRC is booming.
You
know, but if you
the media would tell you otherwise.
If you depend only on CNN and Al Jazeera,
and Sky News,
you will sleep through the revolution. You know, places like Mozambique, places like Rwanda, really virtually
thriving.
The entire African continent is thriving with opportunity. People are cashing in. The ones who know where to look and where to go and spy opportunities.
You know, it's good you mentioned DRC. On the way to DRC, I was here next to a Muzungu, and I ask her, oh, what's your name? I say, oh, she tells me I will not say her name, and she says, what are you? Is this your home? I'm like, no, it's not my home. And what are you doing here? Are you business or pleasure? And she says, oh, I'm here to work on Ebola. Oh, you're coming to DRC to work on Ebola? Ah, it's okay. Now, following day, I meet her again and say, oh, you said you were working on the Ebola control something. And she says, oh, yeah. And then I went back and did a little bit of research. Now, Ebola is concentrated on the eastern side of DRC. Very few people were dying then. So why are you coming here to... And she told me, be very careful of Ebola in this country. Majority of people in Kinshasa have never even contracted Ebola. You know?
So,
It's an interesting lens with which to assess what these breakout economies could end up being.
Absolutely. And we could very well be one of them. And the remaining EAC countries could also be part of the breaking out nations. So on a day when we had a winning headline from the Star and a winning cartoon from the Daily Nation, I would leave you with this quote. To travel is to discover that everyone is wrong about other countries. That was a quote by Aldous Huxley, which he's also something that he quotes himself in this book. So, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are also on your TV screens. Find us on Pang, Free to Air, Go TV, and Star Times. Have a good evening.